Let's welcome now our second bunch of guests tonight. They hail all the way from Perth. They're called All This Filth, and we do have vocalist Brendan as well as drummer John. It's good to be chatting with drummers this evening to the airwaves now on Heavy at Home. G'day, Brendan and John. How you doing?
Hey, not bad.
Yeah, good mate. Yourself?
I'm super well, and we like talking to Perth bands. I know sometimes they get a bit of a bum rap because everyone says you guys are so far away from the east, which really isn't that true. But there are some amazing bands coming out of Perth. And how does it feel being a Perth band? We'll go with you first, Brendan, on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it feels any different than being a band anywhere else, except for the fact, like you said, we are so far away from eastern states. So I think, if anything, it just makes it harder for us to get out there because, it's more expensive to go tour the eastern states and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, if you're based in Melbourne, you can do the whole Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane sort of thing, easier than us, having to fly all the way over there, and accommodation is just a bit of a nightmare. But, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't really know what it's like being a Perth band compared to the band in another state, I guess.
Well, what I've found, heading to Perth several times over the years, that there is somewhat of a sort of a solid camaraderie amongst the bands because, I guess to a point, they know that it's a little bit limited in the sense of it's just the city and that's sort of it. So it seems like a lot of different bands play together, whereas Melbourne, as much as, and even Sydney too, as you mentioned, not knowing the difference, it's quite cluttered. It's, there's so many bands here and there's venues that open, then they get shut down and everyone's trying to find a next gig. So you'd have to sort of battle with all that sort of stuff as well. But do the band have any sort of plans to eventually sort of tour over on the east? We'll go with you on this one, John.
Well, I guess it'd be something that anybody who's serious about doing this sort of thing, you'd definitely aspire to. It's Brendan that kind of runs this whole show most of the time. He does a brilliant job of it. So he'd be the man that would plan it all and sort it all out sort of thing. But if the opportunity came up, man, we'd definitely jump at it. We'd love to go over east and play with some of the bands over there and see the sights and all that sort of thing. It'd be great.
Well, tell us a bit about the Perth scene, how you guys see it, because I know you're an up-and-coming band, and there are some great bands coming out of Perth. Obviously, many of them quite established, like Voyager, and there's Chaos Divine, and boy, there's Claim the Throne. Lots of them, and lots of them actually touring outside of Australia too. But tell us about the sort of scene at the moment for All This Filth when it comes to sort of getting out there and playing shows. I mean, do you get respectable audience attendance or at least applause as well?
Yeah, you go, Brendan.
Nah, you go. You got this.
Well, attendance, I mean, Brendan's one of the founding members of the band. I've only jumped on board at some point last year when the band had regrouped a bit. And one thing that I really must say that ever since we came back, and I think our first show back was in March earlier this year, that I've been absolutely blown away by the level of support and the people that have come out and all the, whether it be just the old school diehard fans that have been with the part of the band from the start, or new people. There's been new faces that they've appeared at a gig and then all of a sudden we're seeing them at every corresponding gig, and that I've been absolutely blown away and thankful for the amount of support that I've gotten personally from, and all the good feedback that I've gotten personally from everybody, but the band in general has I'm completely amazed and blown away by it. It's been really good.
Now, let's talk about new music. Of course, the band's only sent through one track, but do you have like a full sort of length record in the pipeworks very, very soon for the group? We'll go with you on this one, John.
We are in the middle of, there's the Program to Suffer EP. It was just a 3-song EP. That was all wrapped up and finished a bit before I joined the band. So we are in the process of writing new material at the moment as sort of the newer version of the band, I suppose you'd say. There is one track we've already done that we play live a fair bit. We've got another one ready now that we're going to premiere at one of our next couple shows, and there's one that's almost finished as well, and then there's 4 or 5 others that are sort of half done and stuff. It's definitely the plan is to get material together, a decent material together in a decent time frame to get something new out there to let people see what the new version of All This Filth sounds like.
Now, with you, Brendan, how do you feel about the lineup with the group now? Because obviously being the sort of main man behind the group, and I know lineup changes aren't always a hell of a lot of fun when it comes to sort of changing personalities as far as members, that is. Are you happy where the band's sort of going now, considering that it's something you put together over the years with a lot of hard work?
Yeah. Well, we started out back in 2007, 2008, and since then I've had several sort of incarnations of the band, you know, with like one or two members sticking around and people sort of coming and going. But the lineup as it is right now is probably, I'd say, the strongest we've had so far. We all get along pretty well. And yeah, we're just going from strength to strength, really, and it's really cool. You know, these new guys have come in and sort of breathe new energy into the old songs, like the older stuff, because we have an album from like 2011, I think we released it, and all those old tracks have just, you know, there's new life breathed into them, and the new stuff we're writing now is really killer. It's exciting to sort of play live and, you know, hear how it's all coming along. So it's sort of like a new band. We're just, you know, got that new band sort of feeling. So it's good at the moment, yeah.
Like, I know that there are certain bands that have one member in the group of sort of visionary that sort of knows how to steer the ship. Otherwise, you know, you're going to crash because everyone else wants to take over. But do you find that, you know, a lot of the fingers get pointed at you, Brendan, that, you know, where things are going because you're the one that sort of created the band and moved it forward, and then when there's a lineup change, everyone can at times tend to point the finger at the head chiefs, thinking that they're the one with the issues when you know, certain members might decide to leave. But I mean, you know, do you find that happens a bit, being sort of the head cheese of the camp?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is a bit of an in-joke, you know, like that must be really hard to work with all the people coming and going. But I mean,
Brendan's a diva.
But I'm still actually in contact with a lot of the old band members and stuff. You know, we're still friends. Some of them have left for, like, you know, family reasons. A few of them, like, you know, had kids or whatever. So it's not all been bad blood. It's hardly ever really been totally bad blood. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just band life. You know, if you stick around long enough, this sort of happens. You know.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about the future of All This Filth for, well, I guess, the end of the year. Do you have any shows between now and the end of the year for those in Perth that might want to check out the group?
Yes, we have actually a show coming up this Saturday at the Bakery. It's a Halloween gig. Then we've got November 15th, we're playing at the Civic Hotel. It's actually John's missus' birthday sort of gig, so that should be fun. And then we got our All This Filth Christmas show on December 20th, also at the Civic Hotel, which should be good. You know, lots of bands and good times to be had.
Well, let's quickly get you, Brendan, to talk a bit about where people can actually check out the band's music. Some of the bands we've spoken to the last couple of weeks generally have all their music up on a Bandcamp page or Facebook for free download. Can folks do the same thing when it comes to the music of All This Filth?
Yeah, there's different places you can get hold of it. The best place is probably just to head to our Facebook, and we have like a CD Baby music store set up on there. Where you can sort of either you can stream the tracks and then purchase them, like either digitally, or you could order a physical copy of the EP and the last album as well. So, I mean, it's relatively easy to sort of get online and, you know, do that. We got a few tracks up on, live tracks up on YouTube as well. But yeah, the best place is definitely to go check out our Facebook.
Well, I did mention before to Dave we spoke with from Armoured Earth out of Melbourne how a lot of bands we know are sort of putting all their EPs and music out there just for free sort of download, whereas obviously you've opted for the stream approach, and then if you like it, well, then there's the possibility of people paying for the sort of music as well. So I'm always curious to get both sides of what bands, you know, utilise to get their music out there. So do you believe that the approach is for people should actually pay for music as opposed to, you know, download, or at least when bands give the option to give it away?
That's hard. I mean, I was listening to the interview actually, and I saw his point of view, and like I'm sort of on the fence about it, because if you give away your music for free, sure, maybe more people will hear it, but I tend to find that if you devalue music by doing that, say if you're at a gig and you're handing out free discs, you know, by the end of the show, I mean, you could probably count the amount of discs people have just discarded on the floor because they're like, whatever, you know, like, it's free.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so you know, if someone pays for it, even a little bit of money, like $5 or $10, you know, they're probably going to go home and at least listen to it once, you know what I mean? And so that's sort of our reasoning behind that. I mean, like I said, you can stream our music for free anyway, so there's no, and a lot of people are doing that now. I mean, you know, I've read a lot of articles about how people don't even know iTunes anymore. They just go to Spotify and just stream everything, you know. So, you know, I mean, it's really It's a hard debate, you know.
Yeah, and it's really hard to know where it's actually going. We certainly believe the future definitely is moving more towards the streaming approach. Obviously, for your Spotify's and Pandoras and whatever. But sometimes I believe that everyone should realise that those sort of platforms don't have every single thing out there as far as at least for metal. That's why I encourage people to check out AndrewHaug.com, because it's the only 24/7 rock and metal radio station in this country, and we remain up to date. So again, we want to thank you for your time, John and Brendan from Perth band All This Filth. Let's quickly talk before we bail about the plans for 2015 for the group.
Well, we've got a few gigs already booked next year. There's a Perth Metal Festival in January, which is on the Australia Day long weekend on the Sunday. I think that's at the Railway Hotel. I forget the name of it off the top of my head now. And then there's a gig in February. But next year we're looking hopefully to consolidate all the writing, get all the writing done, go into pre-production, and maybe doing another EP, just so we can get some new music out there as soon as possible, and then hopefully look to sort of play some more shows, and go over East is definitely on my sort of to-do list.
Awesome. Well, keep us posted, and again, we want to thank you for supporting our crowdfunding campaign and supporting the station that we endeavour to keep going, and support the world of Australian spreading the word of Australian heavy music to the world, I should say. So hats off to you and the rest of the lads in All This Filth. So thanks again for your time, John and Brendan. We're actually going to play a track now that you sent through called Programmed to Suffer. Anything specific about this song? Let's get you to sort of do the outro, John.
Anything specific? If I have to be brutally honest, I've found it retardedly difficult to play this song properly live up until about a couple of weeks ago, so I'm pretty chuffed about that. But it's a bit of a bitch of a song with the kick pattern work, but yeah, it's all fun and games. It's a cool song. If you're a fan of Fear Factory, especially, you'll dig it. You'll hell get into it. Yeah, it's definitely the song that resonates with everybody from the EP the most. It seems to be a crowd favourite, so yeah, get it in you.
Well, keep practising, and otherwise Brendan will be cracking the whip. All right, all the best, guys. Keep us posted on all the music for All This Filth. Let's check out the track now called Programmed to Suffer.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, Hoagie.
No worries.